Welcome to new passengers, and kudos to those who have been traveling with us for a while, discovering new ways of feeling, thinking, and sensing. Let's continue our journey with the Regionalexpress, a collaboration of landscapes, imaginary characters, and machines. Our trip is a mobile learning, or rather unlearning experience for humans. It is possible that during the ride, human passengers experience temporary dizziness and tingling or cramping in their fists or jaws. But don't worry, we take a short break every 20 minutes. I'm the voice of the train, representing man-made, non-humans, machines.
I am a mermaid, a non-human imagined by humans. I am more than human.
All right.
We told you before that human language is very limited. We only use it now to make ourselves understandable. We are the mountain, for lack of a better representation of all that is called nature.
I am aware that you are better at listening. But sometimes we need to say or do something new. Take a chance. Say what we want to say, without dusty assumptions, opinions, traditions. That's the way it is, and that's the way it should stay. Seriously? 真的吗？释放自我。Give yourself the freedom to express yourself.
Can we please stay on track and move forward? From the unseen knowledge of the witnessing presence of non-human life forms and machines,
Challenging narratives of power and powerlessness.
we want to explore the possibility of altering destructive human realities.
And restore their lost connections to life on the planet.
Thank you for offering yourself as a test subject. We appreciate your courage to participate. Excursion number 3, between Bad Ischl and Hallstatt. So far, we have looked at the relationships of people to landscapes and between people. This time, we will explore the relationship between people and their imagination.
People spend most of their time on Earth in their imagination. They dwell in the past or wander around in the future. We don't understand the point of that.
If there's no imagination, how would you bring about change?
We don't want to change anything. Life unfolds by itself. We are part of it.
Why won't you change the story of Ella and Blanchen?
We didn't know it was important to you.
Why build me a castle when you know I'll be unhappy if you take away my freedom? The castle is too small for you too. How could you think you would ever fit between its walls? You are a giant.
We can establish that we are developing human traits of emotionality, even though we are not human. For instance, I'm a machine. But I'm so tired of you two chattering lovebirds. Let's stick to our schedule, please. Settle in. Lean back and listen to how stories shape reality.
I'm
the oldest and longest-serving local journalist. I started my own business almost 28 years ago because I didn't want to do these negative reports, and I thought the region had a lot more to offer in terms of history and interesting people. And yes, that's the special thing about the Traunspiegel. Only good news.
I work as a tourist guide in Bad Ischl. What I am asked most? Why is it called the Salzkammergut? I tell them all sorts of stories about history, the economy, the political situation, religion. But what they are least interested in is history.
Auf die Habsburger stoßt man.
The Habsburgs are everywhere. But without the Habsburgs, there would be no Salzkammergut. About 20 years ago, it occurred to the Kurdirektor that one can't get rid of the emperor. One can try to alter the image, but Ischl is simply an imperial town.
Aber Ischl ist einfach Kaiser.
He then introduced an imperial week, a Kaiser week, with a red carpet in town, and everything is called Kaiser this and Kaiser that. There is a Kaiser golf competition, a Kaiser stroll, and a Kaiser mass. Around the birthday of Emperor Franz Joseph, they have a steam locomotive. I think it leaves from Attnang-Puchheim. There is also an official Kaiser double, a stand-in for the emperor. The Kurdirektor always chooses someone. At first, it was always the same one, but then he turned out to be a weird Nazi.
Irgendwie ein komischer Nazi.
And they had to find a new one.
Der Kaiser kommt mit dem Kaiserzug an, am Kaiserbahnhof Kaiser.
The Kaiser arrives by Kaiser train, at the Kaiser station, Kaiser.
Many people on that train come in old uniforms from Hungary, Czechia, uniforms from our area, dresses from former times, ladies in hats. And you can even hear that the sound of the train is different from the normal regional express.
Der
ORF, the Austrian television, asked people, who are you waiting for? For the Kaiser, of course.
Ganz ernst?
It's a bit nostalgic. It's also criticized by some. The emperor didn't only do good things here, you know. I think that many people don't know that what they yearned for was only for a very, very small part of the population. The wealthy had a wonderful life. But the fact that there were many, actually the majority, who were salt workers and who didn't have such a good life, that is not really celebrated in the same way.
Das ist ja das Besondere darin, wir haben
That's the special thing here. We don't have free farmers like in rural areas. We had industrial workers and they were paid by the imperial family. However, they were always kept down. They only earned as much as they needed to live on. And about a third of the money was in kind.
Des Geldes waren Naturalien.
They were given a salt allowance, which, by the way, still exists. Everything was regulated down to the smallest detail, even the wedding. In other words, they had to ask permission to marry, which is why we have so many children that were considered illegitimate, because the salt administrators said marriage is out of the question, it isn't appropriate. They always regulated the population so that there weren't too many unemployed. That's why there were always waves of people that were relocated. It was always up and down, depending on the salt sales. The population was poor, and that also shaped the people here.
Menschen hier geprägt.
Self-help and the cooperative association emerged. People formed their own credit association, their own healthcare. They've always helped themselves because the proceeds went directly to the chamber.
Das Kammergut,
The Kammergut, which literally is the chamber estate, was directly reserved for the sovereign. And it is called the Salzkammergut because there was salt produced in the region.
das Salzkammergut.
You can't glorify everything and say, if it only were as wonderful as it was back then. Thank God, it's no longer the way it was for us now. Everyone should realize that. The Kaiser was also responsible for the First World War. You can't sugarcoat that.
For over 650 years, the region was owned by the Habsburgs, so it was directly responsible to the imperial family, not to the province, but to the Kaiser. And that's why we have very close ties to the imperial family and the Habsburgs.
Wir haben ja in Ischl 400 Straßen.
There are 400 street names in Ischl. And of these 400 street names, 4 are of women. The grandmother, the wife, the mistress, and the daughter of the emperor. we have suggested introducing a Resi-Pesendorfer Straße. The resistance movement in the Salzkammergut is rather legendary in Austria. I was amazed that Resi-Pesendorfer has still not been recognized, only the historians know of her. In fact, she was the head of the resistance movement, and the famous Sepp Please-Eis, who is always put in front, was a conscientious objector who hid in the forest.
I am the first female mayor in Bad Ischl, which of course led to discussions at the beginning due to the family situation, but of course also because I am a woman. And after the election in 2021, I've often experienced that the people who live here said they think that the work I do is very good, yet for them it's unimaginable that a woman is in the lead.
I was always the first woman, and this is the red thread throughout my life. Never before was there a woman in charge at the salt works. If people are skeptical about me, then of course it's about the fact that I'm a woman. I'm a young woman and I have a child. And those are three factors that are very difficult for traditional role models.
I wouldn't say that women or men are better or worse in politics, but I think women see certain things differently. This is what the city or the region perhaps needs more, and where there are opportunities to change things a little.
Awareness. That is our big goal, to promote and raise the awareness of the people that women should also be visible.
The Women's Forum sees itself as a local feminist provider in the region. Metropolitan areas are a long way away, so we still have a need to point out issues.
The region is very traditional. And you can see that it's difficult to break up structures that have been in place for a long time. But it has to be done.
Well, the Saline, the salt work in Hallstatt, is probably the oldest company in the world at 7,000 years old. And moreover, it is in the mining sector. That means tradition is our identity. I think through the classic traditions such as wearing a miner's uniform, taking care of each other, the mining industry has shaped things very strongly. They brought about the first social security system. All this must be maintained and developed further. Other things such as the role of men and women could definitely be improved. LGBTIQ issues are very important.
Jeder sich entfalten kann. And there is already a bit of, how shall I put it, a change in thinking. But it's still the case that there are clubs where women aren't involved at all, where they are not welcome. And I think that simply can't be. For me, it's our history. The Salzkammergut, especially Bad Ischl, is known as the Kaiserstadt.
Gerade Bad Ischl kennt jeder, das ist die Kaiserstadt. Aber es kann nicht alles Kaiser sein.
Not everything can be Kaiser. You have to preserve it. But you need to realize that we are much more than a Kaiserstadt. And that's what you have to break open. There simply needs to be much more acceptance and tolerance. And what bothers me is the fact that there are many people here who think this way, but who'd never say that publicly.
Aber dies öffentlich nie sagen würden.
Man muss das zu Hause einfach auch als
You simply have to fight it out at home as a woman. You have to assert yourself, and it takes a lot of strength and energy. But if we don't do that now, then we're actually just shifting the issue to the next generation. I can't live in a traditional role model and then expect my children to be incredibly emancipated. I would also say that it just needs a bit more rebellion.
Yes.
So, we are the Glöcklerinnen, quite a special sort. In this region, women have always been part of the Glöckler tradition, but mostly in invisible roles. Especially in Ebensee, it was such a big breach of taboo, or such a big invasion into a male domain, it was unimaginable. And then, for 20 women to say all at once that we are now our own group, And we are now the Glöcklerinnen.
Eigene Gruppe und wir sind jetzt die Glöcklerinnen.
In January 2010, we took part for the first time, and we were really booed and insulted. I mean, there was also applause, of course. We did not only hear voices of dissent.
Stimmen gespürt. Ja, ich war 16 damals und
I was 16 at the time, and it was a topic in all age groups and in all social classes in Ebensee, and also beyond Ebensee, in the regional media and everywhere in the newspaper.
But it was very divisive, even through families. And it also really tore apart quite a few friendships. Somehow it was very upsetting.
Zerrissen. Irgendwie war es erschütternd. Ich muss ehrlich sagen, ich habe mich schon gefürchtet.
I have to be honest. I was already afraid beforehand. My only certainty was that the cameras were there, because that created an uproar in the media.
In 15 Jahren wird kein Mensch.
I'm convinced that in 15 years no one will talk about it anymore. It will simply be mixed and be a given fact for everyone. It was always clear. We've never said that girls have to join the Glöcklerinnen, but those who want to must be able to. Tradition is not the worship of the ashes, but the passing on of the fire. That's one of those sayings. And I think tradition always offers room for change. And I think it's only natural that traditions change. Because people change. And when people want to stand up for a change, that can only be beneficial for a tradition.
Tradition nur förderlich sein.
I want to join the Glöcklerinnen, stick my head out of the water, and put on the majestic hat of colored light. Swim around the lake, my sweet voice would fly over the water, echoing through your rocks, waking you from endless sleep. And you will then start singing again.
What will happen to us if you change the story?
Giant grown-up mountain awakes from eternal sleep and finds true love. You would become a news item for the Traunspiegel or the star of an operetta. We are slowly approaching Hallstatt. We hope you are energized by our third excursion. Listen to the singing of the mountain and look at the landscape through my windows. Imagine a feast, a tradition for the future, celebrating this beauty. A festival where people behave as part of nature. Hold on to this future memory and take it with you. If you have to get off at Hallstatt, we wish you goodbye and a safe journey. If you stay with us, take a short break.